This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
White trash fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. Cat drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Hey, everybody, welcome to
Blah.
King of the Hill podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
And Rusty, I don't remember whether I hit record on the recorder. So let me
Double check just to make sure.
Let me take a look real quick.
Yeah. That's perfect. It's telling everybody that we're here anyway.
It is.
Okay, well, we are recording.
We're
You should leave that in there. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's a special Monday episode of a.
That's it.
Yeah.
Part of it is that it was Easter and kids over and all kinds of stuff, and so we're recording at 8 a.m. on a Monday.
On a Monday, so
and trying to get it out the same day. So
yeah,
you're welcome.
you're
and
definitely welcome.
Hope you had a great holiday. So this episode, season 5, episode 15, Luanne Virgin 2.0.
Yep.
But I think in the real time frame, it's 5 ABE 16.
Yeah,
what
it's kind of thrown around or whatever. Yeah. This is.
I think we're gonna get that from now on, right?
Yeah.
For the most part.
This is the 99th episode of King of the Hill.
99.
But not only is it the 99th episode of King of the Hill, it is also the 198th episode of Bois,
Oh, wow.
a King of the Hill podcast.
Look at us.
So we're almost to our 200th episode, Mike.
When does our warranty expire? What episode?
After 50,000 miles.
Oh, well, it's gone then.
Yeah, zero powertrain.
All right, so we start this sucker up. It is Hank looking at pictures, and the first picture you see is him standing in front of the new key machine at the hardware store.
At the hardware store, yeah.
And I thought, when this first started, I thought, oh, well, that's an old picture, and he's just laughing at himself and how naive he was. No, it's current.
He fits so many different personas of people you see out in the real world. So he looks like the guy at the hardware store who would make your keys.
Oh, yeah.
He's got like a big keychain on his hip with 40 keys on it. Yeah.
A giant one. Yeah, there's in this building, there's a guy downstairs. He has a key ring. It's about the size of a hubcap.
He's the key holder.
Big old keychain. So we're in the PhotoFast, FOTOPHAST. This is Hank, Luanne, and Peggy looking at pictures, and Hank says, "Boy, those pictures from our trip to the new hardware store sure came out great."
I got a little fun fact from
it.
Artie. He said PhotoFast
Artie
is a take on Photomat, which was an American retail chain of drive-through kiosks located primarily in shopping center parking lots.
I think that's why they spelt it the way they did. So it would be a throwback.
It says it was founded in San Diego in the 60s. The first store was Point Loma, California in 1965. At its peak in 1980, there were over 4,000 Photomats throughout the U.S., and he said they were one of the first companies to offer movies for rent on video cassette.
Yeah.
On December 1979, and they tried to change with the technological advances from kiosks to online digital imaging, and they closed shop September 1st, 2009. So
it is.
the end of Photomat.
I remember 2 of them here in town. One was over in the parking lot where King's Landing is. It was in that parking lot when it was TG&Y and Career Girl and HEB and all that stuff over there.
That used to be the HEB right there, right?
Yeah.
That's on Valley Mills right across from Church's Chicken or whatever it is over
Yeah.
there.
You used to have the little photo mat that you drive by and drive through and everything.
I think they turned them into water.
Basically.
I think they turned them into
yeah,
water
a lot
kiosks.
of them got turned into water kiosks, yeah.
Yeah.
Then there was one out at the mall when the mall was an actual mall.
He also had another
Before Lunar Golf.
Another bit that I wanted to add. He said that the plot of this episode is similar to I Remember Mono, season 2, episode 14, which is the episode where Peggy lied to her about kissing somebody or whatever like that. So this is kind of in the same vein as that.
Peggy was a hussy.
Peggy was out there slinging it. Yeah.
All right, so boy, do these pictures look great from the hardware store. Luanne says, okay, keep flipping. I finished off the roll with some pictures of my new boyfriend, Zach. And then they pulled down it's a picture of this zonked out dude with red eyes in a little photo. Then they pull the photo down, and there he is standing. He's still got the big red eyes.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm Zach. Thank you for choosing PhotoFast. Hank says, so we can't blame the red eyes on the flash. What do we owe you? $12.50. Luanne thinking, oh, my boyfriend's got it. She says, no, let me get it. Since Zach and I are dating, I get his employee discount. How much do I owe you? $12.50. It's just
wow.
And then she's kind of upset. And then, by the way, she gets all up close to him when she asks him. He goes, no hard feelings, but it's over, Linda. Linda, she said.
That's not how
my name is pronounced. Linda.
They called her. He didn't even call her the right name.
Right. And Peggy's like, oh, Luanne, honey, he just broke up with you. Oh, God, no. She runs out of the store. We've seen this from Luanne many times.
Yeah, many times. Yeah, she doesn't ever catch a hint.
Well, she actually brings up all her old boyfriends here.
Yeah, I think she's always the last one. She's always the last one to know something anyway.
Yeah. All right, so all three are driving home in what seems to be Peggy's car. Luanne is sitting up front and being consoled by Peggy, of all people. Peggy says, "Oh, honey, please don't feel bad. It makes your uncle uncomfortable," which I think is a great joke.
Yeah, I do too.
Luanne, if Zach had told me he was going to act like such a butt, I never would have slept with him. Oh man, Hank did not like the sound of that.
Yeah, no.
You what? And then he almost wrecks his car. You never see that.
No, I never see that.
He says, "Oh no, so that means you're not." She goes, "Uncle Hank, I quit being a virgin the first time I had sex." Well, yeah, that's kind of
that's how it works.
and then my favorite line of this entire show, she says, "Uncle Hank, I quit being a virgin first time I had sex," and Hank says, "Well, nobody likes a quitter, Luanne." That's fantastic. That's a really, really
that
good
is
joke.
A good one.
Luanne says, Zach liked me, and so did Buckley and Brad's ex-best friend. Well, I think they liked me.
I think they liked aspects.
I think they liked some of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Assets, maybe. Yeah.
Hank says, Luanne, there's someone who you'll love more, who will love you more if you don't put out. Why don't we swing by his bachelor pad? I mean, he thinks he's so funny when he says this. You know, so sneaky. They pull up to Arlen First Methodist, and Reverend Stroop is in there counseling them. And she says, well, you are right. She has sinned, but if young people like Luanne didn't sin, I'd be out of a job. And then she thought that was hilarious.
That is a little funny. That's a good joke.
Everybody's just stone cold. She goes, seriously, Luanne, there's a way to restore your purity. And, of course, Peggy, being none of her business, she's listening. Stroop goes on and says she can become a born-again virgin. Hank, of course, being the skeptic, how do you pull that one off? Stroop says, it's a religious ceremony that we perform. All you have to do is promise not to have sex again until you're married and log 14 hours in our youth abstinence outreach program.
Yowup.
So, Luanne, are you interested? And she hands her a pamphlet. And Luanne, of course, says, well, I'm willing to try anything once. Well, that's what got you here, Luanne. That's pretty much what got you here. Did you ever have any experience with those abstinence programs?
Yeah, but
it's always like middle school or something, you know.
Well, I don't know. It was kind of abstinence. They really, I don't know. I really didn't get the abstinence vibe from it.
Taped your hands
but they did show us a bunch of genitals with warped,
very nice,
warped figures.
Yeah,
they looked kind of rough.
Yeah,
different various stages of disease.
Well, now that's a kink. You can,
yeah,
it's got its own category.
I feel like what they show you is the worst of the worst of the worst.
Well, it's like the black lung
that you'll never get because it's like they never said that they never once told us that chlamydia and syphilis and all that is something that they could get rid of with penicillin. They never told us that. Yeah. They just showed us like late stage syphilis on somebody's genitals, and it's like almost rotted off, and I'm like, is that really how it is? That really what happens?
There's either it was either Crust the band or Butthole Surfers. One of them has a song that's called "Chlamydia is Not a Flower." That's so I learned more from that than I did anything else.
Yeah, they don't really teach much. Teaching a bunch of horny teenagers abstinence, I don't think really works because there's too many hormones and stuff. All you're gonna do, I feel like telling them don't do it just encourages them to more do it. Because I got tons of abstinence like in our ears, kids in health classes and stuff like that. But yet Texas has some of the highest teen pregnancy rates. Not only that, our school specifically built a daycare for students and then bought extra school buses to bus around pregnant mothers with their or mothers that have had their kids with their kids.
It used to be that was an entirely separate school that you had to send.
Not
your
even a
girls
separate
to,
school.
Like
they used to just send you to like Kansas to your aunt's house.
Nice farm where you can run.
Yeah, just crazy stuff like that. And then you put your kid up for adoption. You come back without a child and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just I don't think abstinence is
all they had to do was look at the DARE program. I mean, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, the DARE program didn't work.
DARE program tells you how to use drugs. Abstinence program shows you how to have sex.
I always thought the DARE program was daring. Like, I dare you to do this. They showed you all the bad stuff. Like, I dare you to do it. It's this bad. Don't do it. I dare you to.
Hey, we just watched, and you might be interested in this. This has nothing to do with the show.
Oh, it doesn't have to.
Something called The Gentleman on Netflix. Yeah. It's a Guy Ritchie series based on his old movie.
I'll have to check it out
and
then.
It's excellent.
I like Guy Ritchie a lot.
And these are brand new characters, brand new story, all of that kind of stuff. I think of it as kind of like the Fargo approach. You know how they're making all the Fargo shows.
I've been watching
kind of like that. It's very good.
I've been watching the History Channel or whatever it is. Not the actual History Channel, but it's a special they had. It's on Hulu. I imagine it probably aired on TV at one point or another. But it's about the different food, like because you know how they always do like Andrew Carnegie, and they talk about all the Carnegies and Rockefeller stuff like that. But they never talk about the food guys like Milton Hershey or Forrest Mars or
those are very interesting.
And it's real cool because I worked for M&M Mars for a long time, and I had no clue that the guy who pretty much revolutionized the company in the modern era was like the estranged child of the guy who originally started the company. Like he had a marriage and just dipped out and divorced his wife, and when he did, the kid got left behind, and he ends up meeting his dad again as an adult. Yeah. Never sees him until he's an adult, but somehow he ends up the guy who takes over the entire company still, even though he was estranged from his dad and everything.
Yeah, that's
it's kind of weird.
I would watch that.
Well, not to go too far into it, but like the son and him end up getting into like a tiff because he wants 30% of the company, and his dad is like, no. So he goes to England and goes and starts like candy company over there and started dog food. He started like Pedigree dog food and all that, like from a company he bought in England, and then moved over here. And
it was all
kind of crazy
for the most part.
Yeah, and then he started M&M's with the second in command at Hershey's.
Oh wow!
So the chocolate that used to make M&M's was all from Hershey's during the war. So the war is what started M&M's.
Yeah, they'd send up those little things to the soldiers so they wouldn't melt in their hand.
Yeah, because they wouldn't melt.
One more thing about abstinence, real quick. When I was working out at the technical college, my buddy Casey had some students there creating video games, right? And so they used Unity and they used Blender and stuff like that. We had a guy come in who had bought the abstinence program. So meaning that there was this abstinence program that would
I know abstinence was for sale.
Go from school to school to school teaching abstinence, right? And so he bought it and he turned it into abstinence from like a bunch of stuff. So smoking, drugs, sex, all of this stuff.
Yeah. Teetotalers.
And his or straight edge or whatever you want to call it, right? His big calling card was your big toe, because you need your big toe to stand, and so this program was going to be your big toe.
That's funny.
So I did a lot of design work for him with a big toe, and then we had all the kids in his class make games based on different abstinence things. And so this one kid, he created a fishing game where it's like a POV fishing game. You throw it out, and then you hear this dun 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 dun, dun, and a beer bottle's coming after you, and you have to fight it off, right?
That's pretty good.
And
yeah.
then we had one where the kid built a spaceship, and you're in the spaceship, and you can fly around,
Yeah.
and, all of that stuff, but you're shooting down sexual transmitted diseases. So
That's funny.
You'd be flying your spaceship and thinking, okay, chlamydia, and you go pew
Pew,
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 and
pew.
just shoot it
Yeah,
down.
that's funny. I like that.
That is ridiculous.
I wonder where they're at. I wonder if those
Uh,
games still exist.
Oh, I'm sure they do. The guy, last I heard, was managing a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, okay.
All right, so
That's where most people who go to video game design college end up.
that's about right. Yeah. He once told us that he was recovering, like he was a blackout drunk kind of thing,
Oh, yeah.
and he used to grab a bottle of vodka and drink about half of it, and then try running across the highway. This is the guy who bought the abstinence program.
Oh, wow. That's the guy who bought the program?
He would just run across the highway.
Is that
get
just
about
like
half in a bag?
It's just to do it, just to see if he could, or
He was a drunk,
Oh, okay.
and then he told us about his love for the band Aldo Nova, which
Okay.
I don't know if you know that or not,
Nah,
but
I don't know that
it's
band.
very old hair metal. All right, so she says, I'm willing to try anything once. Reverend Stroop says, Mr. and Mrs. Hill, are you willing to be Luanne's virginity sponsors? Hank says, sponsor? You mean like what the drunks have? There you go, see?
There
Like
you
the
go,
drunks have,
yeah.
and they run across the highway. She goes, Mr. Hill, a celibacy sponsor is like an offensive lineman for the virgin quarterback. The other team is going to be coming on so strong, so Luanne needs you to get out there and block, or she may very well get sacked. Hank, of course, understanding this analogy fully, he says, well, that's not in the Bible, but it should be.
Yeah.
He says he'll do it. Okay, so now we're at what I can only guess is like the rec room of the church, right? And you see a little sign up taped to the wall. It says 2 p.m. secondary virgin class, 3 p.m. choir practice. So there's just a
lot of activity.
There's a ton of people in there.
Yeah, that's a lot of
It's
activity.
A lot more
To have a schedule
wannabe
on the
virgins.
wall,
Well, yeah. All right, so we're at the meeting. We're getting cookies and drinks and things like that. There's a lot of people. Reverend Stroop gets up and says, okay, people, who's ready to engage in a frank and open discussion of fornication? And Hank, may I remind you that there's a poster of Jesus behind that ping pong table? She says, oh, of course. Thanks, Hank. There will be ping pong and pasta salad after we finish. Now let's break into male and female discussion groups and share our detailed sexual histories. That sounds wonderful.
Wow.
Wouldn't you want to be a part of that group?
No, not really.
time
You know,
behind the
that's kind of like what I perceive, not what I perceive. That's kind of what I feel like all those people who get mad about like drag queens reading books to kids,
sure.
like they're sitting there reading their sexual histories to them or something. They're just wearing like a dress, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Well, yesterday was trans
visibility day.
visibility day. I didn't know they were invisible up until now.
Yeah, I didn't either.
That's a power I wouldn't want to give up.
Yeah, not me either.
I want to be invisible. Okay, later in a circle of all these people, Hank's got his arms crossed. He looks very, very uncomfortable about what's going on. A guy named Larry is talking. He says, and the only reason I know this is because he's got a name tag that says, hello, my name is Larry.
Yeah.
We're going to kick things off today by testifying to the number of sexual partners each of us has had. And he goes, I'll start it off. 4. Oh, so close to 5. He goes,
Yeah.
Anyway, Hank says, what? No, thank you. I'm just here as a sponsor. Larry says, yeah, and as a role model for our emerging virgins, your insights could make the difference between going all the way and going all the way to heaven. Hank says, well, okay, I had my share of girlfriends, but Coach always told me to save it for football, which I did. And then I met Peggy Platter, and things got kind of heavy. But she insisted we waited until our wedding night, and I thank her every day for that. So the answer is 1. Next, the guy calls out Rhett, R-H-E-T-T. Rhett, played by
Rhett is
Owen Wilson.
Yeah. Owen
yeah,
Wilson.
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Owen
America's
Wilson. I
favorite
blanked.
crooked nose, Owen Wilson. He
Owen
goes,
Wilson.
I had just had one too, but we weren't married. I hate myself. I was getting a massage. And Larry says, oh, this sort of thing happens every day, young man, naked in a massage parlor. He goes, no, sir. I wasn't at a massage parlor. I was at an arts and crafts fair. I took my shirt off. Stupid Rhett. And he's just smacking himself in the head. He goes, then she put me face down on the padded, I don't know what, a sex chair and started rubbing my shoulders. And then she brushed up against me and she smelled so good. And I felt this. And then I send my pants. He
Ooh.
whispers it, I send my pants.
That's crazy.
Larry's like, that's not losing your virginity. All you lost were those pants.
Yeah.
Hank says, I mostly work with propane, so why don't I just go do that? He's ready to go.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it's
Now-
weird having him in that room.
Oh, it is very weird. Now we're on the other side. This is the girls' meeting, and Stroop is up handing out Hershey Kisses to each girl. She says, 18, 19. Well, when you say it, it doesn't sound like much, but when you're sitting there, oh, that's a lot of chocolate. She's talking to a girl named Kim, and then she goes, all right, Barbara? Barbara says 6. She goes, oh, very good. And so for each sexual partner, she's handing a little Hershey's Kiss.
A Hershey's
to
Kiss.
Okay.
Okay. Fun fact about Hershey's Kisses. No, I'm just kidding.
When
I watched all that
when
that
inserted
food
correctly.
stuff. Yeah, it's. I don't know. I think the thing that not to go too far back into
Yeah.
it. I think the thing that truly blew my mind was mainly the pizza thing. So they talked about like Pizza Hut and
Pizza
Domino's. No, they talked about Pizza Hut and Domino's. Pizza
Oh.
Hut was started by 2 guys who dropped out of college
Yeah.
before they even made it any far in there.
Yeah.
They borrowed $600 from their mom to somebody's mom to
Oh, wow.
rent out an old bar. They cleaned the bar up and they sat there and came up with the thin crust pizza is Pizza Hut's creation.
Oh, wow.
They're the guys that first came out with it.
I love a good thin crust.
And all of the East Coast pizza was all thick crust.
Right.
The true
Right.
Italian style
Either
pizza.
deep dish or
Yeah.
or Chicago style
So
or St. Louis style, whatever.
They had started franchising 7 months into their endeavor,
Yeah.
and they spread to like
7 months in, they started
franchising out.
Wow.
So they got to like 300 plus stores.
Yeah. This is
and-
Pizza Hut?
Pizza Hut, and they started failing on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And it was because they didn't have thick crust.
Ah.
So they were like, well, why don't we sell both?
Yeah.
So they actually, those 2 kids are the ones that actually formulated the pizza.
Wow.
Randomly, they threw a bunch of
Good for
ingredients
them.
together, and the first one they made happened to be the thin crust pizza that they sell still today.
Here in our town for a while it was Pizza Hut, Mr. Gaddy's, and Pizza Inn.
Pizza Inn.
Pizza Out, it's Pizza Inn. And I always liked Pizza Inn better
Yeah.
than any of them. But then at school on Wednesdays we would have personal pan pepperoni
Oh,
pizzas.
yeah.
There's not much better you can serve a kid.
All that
In
pizza
high
you're talking
school,
about, though,
yeah.
without Pizza Hut,
Yeah.
pizza wouldn't be
Oh,
like
I don't
that.
doubt that.
Because they said before Pizza Hut, pizza was like, something you might read about in the paper.
Yeah.
Or something. It was not like an American staple.
Well, no one out
So,
pizzas the Hut.
Yeah, no one out pizza. That I guess that's why they say
Expecting
that.
our check.
And then, so they were responsible for like the dine-in pizza format.
Oh, wow.
And then spreading pizza.
And now
and
they're
then
all delivery for the most
Domino's is the
Yeah.
ones that revolutionized the
part.
delivery thing.
Yeah,
They're
by
like the
getting a
first
bunch of
delivery
drivers
guys.
killed.
Yeah, 30 minutes or less.
Well, they had to they had to stop.
They had
That's
to.
why the Noid went away.
Yep.
Because they were always trying to beat the Noid, and they were saying it's 30 minutes or less, 30 minutes or less. We're going to penalize you if it's not 30 minutes or less. Well, shit, people got into wrecks and killed and stuff like that.
No, for sure.
All right, so he says it's not about losing your virginity; it's about losing those pants. He says, "Okay, well, I got to go work." And then we've got Reverend Stroop counting out chocolates to ladies based on how many people they've had sex with. Luanne says to Peggy, "I'm the youngest one here. I can't tell them I've had sex with 4 men. They'll think I'm a slut." Peggy says, "It does not matter what they think. You have a forgiving God and a tough but fair aunt." Jeez, it doesn't matter what it is. She's going to insert herself. in
Yeah,
the
she's got to
story.
make it about her. This is definitely a shitty Peggy episode.
God. Reverend Stroop says, Luanne. She goes, 4. 4. So she hands her 4 chocolates. She goes, Peggy. Peggy says, 1, my husband. And she looks very sheepish when she says this. She goes, well, good for you. Ladies, this is a model for all of us. And Peggy says, oh, no, please, I'm not. Because she knows she's not. Reverend Stroop says, oh, yes, you are. You're an inspiration, a holy beacon. We may not all be able to match your rectitude, but God has truly prepared a special place for you. Peggy looks super guilty. And she says, 2. She goes, oh, I'm sorry. She goes, I would like one more chocolate, please. She goes, are you hungry, hon? No, I slept with another man before I met my husband. Luanne literally has to cover her mouth with her
got to.
hand.
She's
And-
embarrassed. She's
and-
truly embarrassed. This is like this is one of the moments where she is shitty Peggy throughout the
Yeah.
whole episode. But again, you kind of feel like, oh, poor Peggy. She's gotta actually be a real human being for once.
Yeah. She says, I've slept with another man before I met my husband. And Reverend Stroop says, and 2. And that,
Yeah.
and that
you
Texas.
gotta be proud of her for her honesty.
Oh,
though,
well, it's true.
If nothing
That's
else.
true. But I think she was goaded into it more than anything. It's not like she would have just said that out loud on her
Yeah,
own.
yeah.
All right, that takes us to the first commercial break. We'll take that, and we'll be right back.
Right back.
Snack Attack is a podcast about the history of your favorite snacks, candies, and treats. Each 5-minute or less episode features the history of a great snack from around the world. We'll also visit what the status of the snack is today and give you a little knowledge to lord over your friend. Snack Attack is available anywhere you get your podcast or at roguemedianetwork.com. Let's get snacking!
Step into the unexpected with Cultastic, or How to Start a Cult Without Really Trying. A podcast where cult creation unfolds in the most unpredictable way. Join us on a unique journey into the world of theoretical cult formation. Unlike any other podcast, each episode of Cultastic is co-written in part using ChatGPT, and we let it decide our fate, good or bad. What makes Cultastic truly intriguing? We don't know what's coming each week. Together with our AI co-author, we'll discover and build this cult, one episode at a time, exploring various aspects of cult dynamics, leadership, and group psychology. Delve into themes of charisma, influence, and the power of group thinking. It's a blend of expert analysis, theoretical exploration, and the unforeseen twists of AI-generated ideas. Remember, Cultastic is an exercise in imagination and education where we weave a narrative one episode and one tenant at a time. Curious about where this journey will take us? Subscribe to Cultastic or How to Start a Cult without really trying on your favorite podcast platform or at roguemedianetwork.com. Let's build this mission to save the people of Earth, week by unpredictable week.
All right, and we are back. The only two left in the room at the sex, let's see how many people you had sex with. Here's some chocolate seminar. Are Peggy and Luanne.
Yeah, Peggy and Luanne.
And Peggy says, Luanne, it was my very best male friend, Wayne Trotter.
Yeah, she's got to explain the way. She's got to Peggy explain it now.
People always thought we were going steady, but there'd never be anything romantic between us until one day we're at Pier 1. I love the drop of Pier 1.
Pier 1, there you go.
He set me down in a wicker chair and took my hand. He had beautiful hands. And he said to me, Peggy, I think I might be gay. And this was back when being gay in Texas was not as fun as it is today. She said, we decided that the only way to know for sure was to test him with Peggy Platter. So we went back to Wayne's house, gently pushed aside his decorative throw pillows, and then, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's funny that she says what she says about Texas not as fun as it is today. So my best friend's mom, growing up my whole life, like the reason why I never looked at gay people through a weird lens like a lot of some people in Texas do, I wouldn't say a lot of, was because I grew up in it. Like my best friend's mom from I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
He's been my friend ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And actually now my kid is I had a kid with his cousin, so my kid is related to his mom and stuff. And So she's gay, my friend's mom, and I remember when we would go to his grandma's house, and she would we would go to church or something like that. She would always introduce my friend's moms as friends.
Right.
Oh, they're just best friends.
Right,
They're just really good friends.
Best friends who happen to share.
Oh, bless their hearts. They're best friends.
Who happen to share their genitalia.
Yeah.
Okay, so she said, Luanne, hearing the story, she goes, did you fix him? He goes, oh no, Luanne. He was not broken, just gay. Very, very gay. I love behind them how you have these paper sheep with people's names on them. This one's Sandy that we see. It's like a paper cut out of a sheep, and they've glued the cotton balls to it. Hank busts in through the door and he goes, "Are you ladies decent?" Oh, you got chocolate? Boy, am I jealous. So he eats a chocolate out of Luanne's hand while in the background we see Peggy scarfing down one so that Hank doesn't know it's more than one. Now we're at the Lake Arlen. It's baptism time for all these newly found virgins.
Newly found virgins. They're going to dunk you in the water and wash off the filth.
Reverend Stroop is out in the water. She goes, "Welcome, virgins, soon-to-be virgins, sponsors, and fan of premarital abstinence." She says, "Will the sponsors of Luanne Platter please step forward? Luanne, before God and man, your next breath will be as if it were your first." And Luanne goes down in the water because she gets dunked. She comes back up, and okay, number one, there's some guys in the park playing Frisbee. When Luanne comes up, we pretty much see everything on Luanne. I mean, she is drenched, and so you're seeing the headlights are on, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And these guys over there playing Frisbee, they're just like, their mouths are agape. A Frisbee hits a guy in the head, all this stuff.
Yeah, and well, she's
that's what I'm saying.
She's a very well-formed woman.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't understand
everything's kind of showing through the robe.
That's what I didn't get is why she didn't have underwear on at
she did.
Baptismal.
She had underwear on. You could see the underwear.
Okay.
But through the under there where there was
obvious there's other things there
going on. Yeah. And anyway, she's bouncing and shrieking, "I'm a virgin." Of course, those two guys immediately come over and they're like, "Oh, what's up? I want to play some. I want to play some B.
Want to play some B?"
And Hank looks over. "She is no longer interested in catching what you're throwing, mister." Puts a robe on Luanne and goes, "Okay, everyone who hasn't had premarital sex gets ice cream."
Yeah, and then Peggy,
Peggy's
she don't get no
depressed.
ice cream. Yeah,
goes,
no ice cream for Peggy.
She just kind of goes, "Oh, dear God." All right, now she's at Nancy's kitchen table because who would you ask about premarital sex or fooling your husband? It'd be Nancy, right?
Yeah, that would definitely
sex.
be Nancy. She knows more about extramarital affairs than I think, or pre, post, during marital. She knows a little bit about all of it.
She's the one.
Yeah.
Nancy says, "Well, I wouldn't tell him." Peggy says, "I just feel so terrible. I cannot sleep. I cannot eat. I've already lost a pound."
You look wonderful, Shug.
Nancy, you look wonderful, Shug. Peggy, of course. Oh, I agree. Normally, I would say so with a lot more enthusiasm, but I am under a lot of stress. Okay, Peggy. All right, now we're at Tom Landry Middle School. Luanne is shouting at children as they come out of the school. She's handing out these pamphlets about virginity, right?
It's funny that there was a video that went kind of viral, I guess you could say. I saw on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter.
Right.
On the Bird app. It was a abstinence group standing outside of a inner city school.
Yeah.
And they were handing out all these Planned Parenthood, abstinence, all kinds of programs, whatever it was. Yeah. And the teachers and principals are right there just like, "Hey, you got to get out of here," snatching it up away from them and stuff like that for handing out paraphernalia at school. That's one place I didn't think you could proselytize your wares.
According to what school?
Yeah.
So Luanne is out there shouting at the kids as they come out, "No sex equals great sex. No sex equals great sex." And then you see Bobby and Connie come out. "Oh, Bobby, I need to talk to you and your peer group about your virginity." She has to look down at the pamphlet to see peer group. And Connie says, "I am not having sex at least until my sophomore year at Harvard." Bobby says, "You heard her. Not until our sophomore year at Harvard." Okay, Bobby, I think you're assuming a lot, number one. Luanne says, "Your virginity is in danger now. You need to sign this abstinence pledge card before you discover how wonderful sex feels." Dooley, of course, is standing there, and he's like, keep talking.
Dooley.
She says, "Okay, in addition to heaven, there are other benefits to this pledge. You get 10% discount on CDs, movies, bowling, and video games, and a free MP3 player if you sign up 10 other virgins." Bobby is excited. He takes that sucker away.
Yeah, he's not even worried about the virgin part. He's just trying to
he just wants that MP3
10%
player.
discount that MP3 player. It sounds like, it makes me miss Hastings.
Oh.
Hearing 10% discount on CDs, movies, bowling, and video games. It used to be like the best place in the world for physical media.
It was a lot of stuff. Yeah, a lot of stuff. All right, so now we're in bed with Hank and Peggy again. Hank is kind of getting ready for bed. He's hanging up his jeans. He says, "Oh, we sure got lucky. When we were 18, we were already married. If we'd had to wait any longer, who knows what kind of trouble we'd have gotten into. With each other, of course. Boy, thank God for my free weights and your strong moral fiber."
Free weights. So that's how Hank used to deal with sexual frustration, was
Free
pump
weights.
it out.
That's right. Peggy says, my virtue is not the issue, Hank. This is about Luanne. And she seems kind of angry.
Yeah, you know, honestly, Hank just seems like the kind of guy who you'd be sitting in a circle and talking or whatever, and he would be like, "I've never masturbated." I think he would be the guy that has never masturbated.
And then Dale would be sitting right next to him, and he'd tap him in the nuts real quick.
There's some podcast I listened to. I can't remember which one it was. Is it the Tosh.0 one, the new Tosh O podcast?
Tosh one was they talked about masturbation this last time.
Was it? I don't know if it was him or not, but there was one where they were talking to one of the guys that helps produce the show. It might have been
that was it.
Was it Tosh?
Yeah.
Well, they were talking to the guy who helps produce the show, and they put the camera on him, and he's like, "Yeah, I've never masturbated. I've never ever masturbated." Yeah. He's like a 22-year-old guy.
All right, so she says, my virtue is not the issue, Hank. This is about Luanne. He goes, well, that's what scares me. She's got nowhere near your upbringing or self-control. I'll be damned if I'm going to raise her baby. Peggy, again, looks super guilty. He says, we got to find a good boy with strong values. Oh, hey, I know a guy. So now we're at the bowling alley with Rhett, who Hank has just met.
Owen Wilson.
He goes,
who I recently read is a horrible father.
Really?
Yeah, they said that like he actively avoids one of his children, and he's tried to do everything he can to not be a part of its life, paying money, doing all this paperwork just to not be a part of his kid's life. Yeah, it's terrible.
He goes and bowls and knocks something down, and Hank says, that's quite a hook you got there, Rhett. Rhett says, I spend a lot of time bowling. I can't imagine a bigger rush than picking up a spare. Hank says, ain't that so, Rhett? This is my niece, Luanne. She loves bowling and self-control. And Luanne's standing there. Yeah. She's got a tank top on with a cross necklace, and everything is kind of accentuated. And Rhett, poor Rhett. Rhett is a 22-year-old virgin who gets a little worked up over things.
Yeah.
He goes.
Yeah, he gets a lot worked up.
She says, hi, and he just looks straight at her chest, number one, and he goes, oh, I'm Rhett. He has to wipe his hands off before he reaches out. She goes, oh, I saw you at the Virgin thing. He goes, yeah, I got kicked out for already being one. You want a bowl? It's totally not a sin. She says, okay.
I got kicked out for already being a virgin. That's funny.
All right, so now we're in the back alley. And Bobby is talking to the guys in the alley. He has something called the Smarts card. And damn it, I printed that out, and now I can't. I guess I didn't bring it. I had exactly what Smarts means. So if you can find that would be cool. Yeah. SMARTS card for abstinence. He's talking to all these guys, and he says, oh, sure, TV and movies might make premarital sex look good, but it's dangerous. He goes, it's caused broken home, broken hearts, depression. Bill says, I'll sign. He doesn't even know what the hell he's signing. I'll sign. Who wants to play miniature golf Friday night? $2 off. Boomhauer has zero interest in this. But when he mentions miniature golf, he goes, yo. Hank says, sorry, but that's the night of the abstinence dance. I promised Luanne I'd help her and Rhett chaperone. You know, make sure the kids have a good time, but not a great one. Dale, of course, well, go to your prissy little dance. Me and the boys are going to putt-putt range. My sources tell me that bully no longer works there. All right, so now we're at the dance.
Well, I can't really find much on it. Isn't it just like the virginity pledge?
Yeah, it is the virginity
like a
pledge.
Card that they sign
it's
or something?
It's a card that Bobby had one of. Let me see. Hang on. I bet I can find this sucker. Because I did put it in the document. This is fun audio for you guys to listen to.
Yeah, listen to the sounds.
Listens to the sounds of me scrolling through Google.
Google.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, so shoot, I've got like 19 copies of it. All right, so we're going to pretend like we know what smarts means. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I do know.
Shout out to my brother. He's watching. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, Rusty's brother? Okay, well, shoot. I thought I had it. I guess I don't. Anyway, if anybody wants to talk, tell us what the smarts card mean. That's great. SMARTS, all periods. Again, Dale says he's going to the putt-putt range because that bully no longer works there. Now we're at the dance. And by the way, this is a swing dance for abstinence.
Oh.
I wanted to ask, swing dancing was popular again for a very short amount of time.
Well, it's kind of like with anything, honestly, and it ebbs and flows.
Sure.
It's just like in the 90s, bell bottoms came back because all the kids of the 70s
Well, you
were
see 'em
now in
now,
their
too.
30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They came around again.
And they came back around. But I feel like once all the one generation is old enough and they have all this disposable income to spend on stuff, it's just like there's a
comes
lot of
back
kids
around.
there's a lot of adults in my generation that are buying toys or video games or whatever it is from their childhood, and it's
Just
the
for
same
the
with
nostalgia factor.
any
Yeah.
generation really does that.
sure.
They always want the nostalgia. It's just like when my dad was collecting antiques when I was a kid, and he would get like, I don't know, some old farm tool or something. It
Sure.
was a farm tool that he remembers using as a kid or something.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
kind of thing.
This is a swing dance for abstinence, and so I got curious. One of my favorite movies is called Swingers, with John Favreau and Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
First movie they made together, had to cobble it together. But it features Big Bad Voodoo Daddy in one of the things playing.
That's a hell of a name. That's a hell
Playing
of a
swing
title.
music, right?
Yeah.
And so they go to this swing club or whatever. So that was 1996. This came out, 2000 or 2001?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. So this was still during the swing dance craze. So you see him out there swinging and dancing. Rhett is getting really worked up with Luanne. He spins her and then flips her. Of course, Dooley says, "I saw her panties." And so they're dancing like crazy. On the back wall, we see a couple of posters. One says, "Don't be a louse, wait for your spouse." And then the other one says, "Save your urgin, stay a virgin."
Is the SMART self-management recovery training?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that what it is?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
I think this was something very
all I can
specific to this episode. I think it was
very specific.
All right, so Red is having a real hard time. She is shaking, swinging, etc. I mean, she is all over the place. She's just having a great time, but I can see how somebody like Rhett would go, "Oh dear God, this is amazing."
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh, I feel so safe with you, Rhett. My last committed on and off again relationship. Everything we did always seemed to lead to sex." And of course, that doesn't help him any. He smells her hair while they start slow dancing, and he goes,
Yeah.
"God, Luanne, sounds terrible." She goes, "Oh, it was. Did you know that the changing table at a Whataburger is strong enough to hold up one person, but not two?" He goes, "Oh, I thought people only had sex in beds or the shower. That could work, right? Or is there enough room to lie down?" She says, "Oh, real virgins are so cute." Then we see the swing DJ in a zoot suit, so we know what kind of crowd we're dealing with here.
We're dealing with the zoot suit crowd.
Zoot suit crowd.
What is a zoot suit?
It's those big, like
Those
big long
Cab
suits.
Calloway, Minnie
Cab
the Mooch,
Calloway.
like the oversized suit
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Cab
Okay.
Calloway or Family Feud. What's his name that does Family Feud?
Steve Harvey.
Steve
That's
Harvey
not a
wears,
zoot suit.
He wears those long ass.
They
suits,
are
man.
long.
They're pretty
though.
close.
They are long.
You put a hat and some shoulder pads.
Is
in
it
that
just
thing,
because
it's a
he's
zoot
tall
suit.
that they're long?
No, I think if you go over here, there's a place over here called Suit City. If you go over to Suit City, you'll see a lot of those long ass suits. And I don't know what their purpose is, but there are some long ass suits.
It's funny. All the pictures that I go to look of Steve Harvey in a suit are
wearing that long-ass suit?
only from the shin up. Like they don't. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's kind of long.
it
I
is
guess.
very
I
long.
guess so.
All right, so he dips Luanne, and he's super worked up.
You know who else used to wear big suits? I feel like
Who's that?
Bernie Mac. I feel like
Oh
his
yeah,
suits used to be really big.
Yeah. He dips her, and he goes, "Oh, well, that's it. Will you marry me?" Like literally, you've known each other 2 days.
Yeah.
Bobby and Connie are out there swing dancing, and Hank and Peggy are over there watching. She goes, "Well, look at Bobby. I think he's finally found his sport." And Hank, of course, is, "Oh, God." Then up comes Rhett and Luanne. Luanne says, "Oh, my God, Uncle Hank, Aunt Peggy, Rhett asked me to marry him." I said, "Yes." Peggy's like, "You what?" Hank says, "Luanne, you barely know this guy." Luanne says, "Yeah, but we have so much in common. We're both virgins. In fact, that's how we met." Hank says, "Yes, I know. I introduced you 2 days ago." She says, "And each day has been better than the one before." It's 2 days, lady. It's 2 days. Peggy says, "May I give you a little preview of your wedding?" "Does anyone object?" "Yes, I do." "And who are you?" "Peggy Hill." It's such a,
Wow.
She did a little play where she was the asker and the answerer. Luanne says, "Don't you want me to get married?" Peggy says, "Of course I do, honey, but not to Rhett. When we meet the right guy for you, we'll know."
When we meet.
We will. Yep. Luanne says, "I may be a virgin, but I have been around the block a few times, and I know when someone's talking down to me." Peggy says, "I am just trying to protect you from your feelings, thoughts, and instincts." She goes, "I know that this is difficult for you, Aunt Peggy, but you should be proud of me. I'm going to be the first platter woman to walk down the aisle of virgin." Hank says, "You watch it, young lady. Your aunt and I never..." And here it goes. Luanne opens her mouth and says, "No, before she met you with Wayne Trotter." And Hank's like, "Peggy?"
Man, it's like a knife in his heart.
Peggy,
He's like, I thought I was the only one to hit, but somebody else got it quick.
He looks over at her, and she's just like, he goes, "Whoa." And he looks over at her, and she goes, "Well, it's true. He's gay now, if it makes you feel any better." He goes, "Whoa," again. She goes, "No, of course it doesn't." And that is our second commercial break with Hank very angry. Peggy's a louse, and Luanne's getting married. So there you go. We'll see you right after this.
Ned Hillsdale, a hard-drinking, foul-mouthed ex-cop turned private detective in the city of Chicago. He lives dangerously, loves intensely, and drinks harder than anyone. The very things that got him kicked off the force now make him the city's best detective. Set against the low rumble of sad jazz and the hum of underground crime, Ned Hillsdale, Private Detective, is available anywhere you get your podcasts and at roguemedianetwork.com.
Hey everybody, I'm Tony, and some call me Big T.
And I'm Carrie, and we have some exciting news. We have a podcast.
Absolutely, it's called My Husband is a Hunka Burning Love.
No.
And we'll be discussing some different sex positions overweight couples can easily perform,
I
correct?
don't think so. It's called I Married an Idiot.
I know, I'm just kidding.
We'll try to stay on task, focus. Did you take your Adderall today?
Really? You're going to ask me that? Are you insinuating something?
Never mind. You may be wondering why we're doing this. We have been together for 36 years.
36 short, long
years.
freaking years. But we must be doing something right?
Well, we must be. But this is where the fun starts.
And you know me, I love having fun. Fun is the best thing to have.
Yes, it is. On our show, we're going to be discussing a wide variety of topics. And I'll give you my opinion, and you'll give your opinion. So please, do not embarrass me.
I'm not going to embarrass you. I told you 1,000 times, but you also need to learn to get some thicker skin if you're going to be doing this.
No.
And don't take everything so damn personal.
I know, but you get personal.
Anyway, it's up to you, not you, Carrie, but the podcastee listeners,
the audience,
to decide which one of us is the idiot.
It's going to be pretty obvious, trust me.
Absolutely, totally obvious. Was that a shot?
Of course not.
Okay, good. Just checking. So, you know, everybody has an opinion. It's like my daddy always said.
Oh, no. Here we go.
Well, it's true. An opinion is like an ass. Everyone has one, and some are bigger than others, or it went something like that.
Stop. Would you be nice? See what I mean? Tell them where we can be found.
Anywhere you get your podcast or roguemedianetwork.com. Just look up I Married an Idiot. Sit back, relax, and give us a try. I promise you it will be entertaining. And if you want to contact us, you can shoot us an email. Well, I don't seem to have the email at the moment. This is not good. I don't seem to have that at the moment, but we'll let you know, so stay tuned, and I promise you we'll let you know. Sorry.
Really?
Well.
But yes, eventually we'd love to hear your feedback. You can give us suggestions on what topic to cover, comment on our show or an episode, or just drop us a line to say hello.
Just remember, any negative feedback should be directed toward Carrie, and all positive feedback should go to me.
Wrong again.
Hey, babe, look, we got to go. Let's wrap this up.
Okay, just remember to tune in. It's going to be fun, and thanks for giving us a try.
Absolutely. Until next time, peace out. God dang.
I thought it went pretty good.
That went well, not.
Well, I thought it went okay.
Why didn't you tell me the email? Do we even have an email?
You said you were getting the email.
I did not. When did I say that?
You're such an idiot.
Oh, the hell with it.
All right, and we are back.
And we're back.
We're in the Hill House bedroom one more time. Hank is packing a duffel bag. This is not something you see very often.
Nah, Hank's packing his shit. He's fed up.
Peggy is standing behind. Well, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted. Don't you, Hank? And she knows. Hank says, you're the one who was always saying we should wait. Well, it's easy to wait on dinner when you've already had a snack, isn't it, Peggy? She goes, oh, I was wrong. And I did not want to make the same mistake twice. He goes, which mistake is that? Sleeping with him, not sleeping with me, or lying about it for 20 years? I want to be mad at you for the right reason. And then he puts on a blue baseball hat. I've never seen Hank in a blue baseball hat.
That's his I'm leaving hat.
I guess. She said,
when Hank's had enough, that's when he puts the
on
ball
the blue
cap.
hat.
Yeah.
Peggy goes, well, you never told me about your wild escapades when you worked at Jeans West, and this is a wonderful story. Hank says, I told you about the time I put on the gigantic pair of khakis and pretended I was tiny. I was very upfront about that.
Whatever that means.
Peggy says, Hank, I cannot change the past. I can only try to convince you that you are overreacting to it. Right now, we have to stop. I can only try to convince you that you're overreacting to it. Even when she says shit like that, she's still talking down to people.
Yeah.
She goes, right now we have to stop Luanne before she ruins her life. Hank says, I'm going to go to Luanne's. I think it's best if you stay here and think about what you did and what I didn't get to do. And then he leaves. I mean,
he's out.
He never walks out on her.
He never walks out on anybody or anything. He's a very faithful, down guy. But
he feels like he's been lied to by the one person that he
it's not
never
supposed
thought
to.
would lie to.
It's not supposed to lie to him.
Now we're at Luanne's. It's Hank and Rhett out front. Luanne comes out in a white wedding dress. Everything is accentuated. Rhett's like, oh yes, that is a dress. Sweet merciful Jesus, that is a dress. She goes, oh, the guy at the rental place said the most of the girls who have worn this dress are still married. She looks out the window and she sees a very angry Peggy Hill over in the driveway.
Extremely, yeah.
Then she turns back to the guys and goes, I was going to ask Aunt Peggy to sing the I Believe I Can Fly song at the wedding, but now I'm not so sure.
And a lot of people are not so sure about that song
can
being
fly.
played at their wedding anymore.
Yeah, well, some people like it.
No Diddy. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Did he do it
baby.
or did he not?
No, I think
Find
he
out
did.
next time on
I think he
Dragging
did do it.
D's Nuts. Yeah.
Hank says, tell you what, if you want, I can take her off the guest list. Bill's been pushing for an invite.
I'm just kind of
He's talking about taking Peggy off the list.
not to go too far off track again,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of curious as to why they haven't done anything to Dan Schneider at Nickelodeon. They've raided a bunch of homes of Diddy's and did all this stuff, but like that guy is just hanging out at the house, a millionaire doing nothing.
I watched that thing, and
yeah, it's kind of crazy.
it is crazy, but
You know what's crazier for me about all of it is
Yeah.
Drake Bell was just charged with inappropriate stuff with minors recently.
oh, was he really?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't
and
know that.
it wasn't anything to the extreme, but it was. It was. I mean, anything you do with kids is wrong.
I guess you do
But
what you know.
yeah, that's what I thought was weird that they had him telling his story, even though his story is worth telling. I just still didn't understand.
Yeah.
A lot of the sympathy behind it, because I
It's a
feel
lot.
bad for the kid that went through the experience, but the adult that put somebody else through a uncomfortable experience, I don't feel anything for.
Well, even Keenan on Saturday Night Live, he released a statement saying how bad he felt for everybody that was involved, but he didn't know or whatever.
Yeah, he
So-
wasn't a part of it. Melissa Joan Hart too. She came out with a little statement saying that she had just
Oh,
she
really?
had just a little video saying I've watched the documentary. I believe it. It's 100% true,
Sure.
but it's not my experience with
Yeah.
Nickelodeon. There was two studios too, which a lot of people don't know. Nickelodeon was separated. They had the Orlando studio,
Yeah.
and then they had obviously the Hollywood studio.
The one on Hollywood and Vine.
Hollywood
or
and Vine or wherever
Yeah.
it's at.
Mhm.
And Melissa Joan Hart and her show, Clarissa Explains It All, was done in Orlando. And a couple of shows were done
Sure.
in Orlando. And if you think about the people that are coming out, a lot of those people are pre-Dan Snyder.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that are
Yeah.
saying nothing happened to me, I
Yeah.
don't know, this isn't
Sure.
my experience, were there before him, or they
I
were
didn't-
on shows not attached to him.
I didn't realize Dan Snyder was who he was. I
he's a-
remember him from Head of the Class.
Yeah, he was
the
in Head of
TV
the Class.
show Head of the Class.
Well, he was I don't know, as terrible as a human being he is. There was a lot of shows that he had a part
Oh, he
of.
did a ton of stuff. Yeah.
Pretty much everything Amanda Bynes did, all the way
Oh,
to
yeah.
What About You. He
Yeah.
had involvement in that
he was
too.
her agent or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so Peggy comes in through the sliding glass door after Hank says I can take her off the list. She goes, Luanne is your guardian. I cannot let you do this. Luanne looks at her and says, save your breath, Aunt Peggy. Nothing you could say could stop me from becoming Mrs. Rhett Platter. Yes, I'm keeping my last name. See, I was afraid I wouldn't like your last name. She looks at him. He goes, it's Vandergraff. She goes, oh, I love it. I'm gonna be Mrs. Rhett Vandergraff. Well, she gave up keeping her last name real quick.
Yeah, really quick.
She goes, I'm going to be Mr. Rhett Vandergraff. And Hank says, the Vandergraafs. I mean, like, he's just so impressed with it.
Yeah.
The Vandergraafs. Peggy looks at him and goes, Hank, she did not even know his last name. He says, well, at least he told her his last name before they got married. He didn't spring it on her 20 years later. Jeez.
Yeah.
Peggy's, Hank, will you stop this? What is it you want from me? An apology? Fine. I am sorry. Very, very sorry. Well, number one, that's not a real apology. I have made a horrible mistake, and I have paid the price. How much longer are you going to punish me? There is a extremely pregnant pause here. Hank speaks, turns his head right to Luanne and says, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go tell Boomhauer we'll need his limo for the wedding this weekend. And he just leaves. Once again, he leaves, and Peggy is pissed. Next we see is Hank is sleeping on the couch over at Luanne's. We see Peggy alone in the bed with her itty-bitty book light on her head. She gets up and she looks out the window, and she sees Luanne crawling out of the bathroom window.
Yeah.
We then go over to Hank sleeping on the couch, and of course Luanne has one of those phones that's the giant red lips. You know, it's two pieces of
Yeah.
And it rings right by his head, and he's like, oh, Strickland propane, taste the meat.
One of those weird phones.
Yeah, he answers the phone anyway. Like, have you ever done this? Strickland propane, taste the meat. I mean, hello. You know, if you work someplace long
where you
enough,
do the phones.
Oh,
yeah.
God, yeah. It gets in your brain. And by the way, when she calls him, you see the speed dial over at Hill's house. Number one is the Gribbles.
Okay, we got the Gribbles on speed dial.
Number two is Hank at Luanne's. So that means she had to change it that day to say Hank at Luanne's.
That's funny.
And then number three is Bill, and number four is Boomhauer. That's their speed dial breakdown. No cotton.
No cotton.
She goes, Hank, I just saw the Virgin Luanne climbing out her window, her bedroom window. He goes, oh God. He runs out to a van parked in the parking lot. On the van, it says, if the van's a rockin', it needs shocks. Open the back of the van. And it says, powered by celibacy.
That's funny.
He opens the thing, and he sees Rhett and Luanne making out in the back. Goes, hey, cut it off. Knock it off. Hey, right now. What do you think you're doing? What are you doing? Luanne says, we didn't do anything. He sprays them down with a fire extinguisher, number one.
Yeah.
And then Rhett, he's
Fill
like,
their lungs full of harmful fire retardant.
Rhett, he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Hill. I've waited 22 years. I couldn't wait another week, as he's putting his shirt back on. Luanne reacts to this with, you're 22? I mean, they know nothing about each other, right?
Yeah.
Hank says, all right, that's it. The wedding is tomorrow. She goes, oh, yes. And they just start kissing like super hard. Peggy comes over. She's still got the book light on her head. She goes, listen to me, Luanne. Getting married just so you can sleep together is a big mistake. If I had married the first person I slept with, I would have married Wayne Trotter. I never would have gone sock skating with Hank on the linoleum of our first studio apartment. I would have missed the way he tosses and turns the night before Flag Day. Not sure about that.
That's funny.
The pride I felt the first time he used one of my shirts as a rag. If I had done what you're thinking of doing, Luanne, I never would have met the love of my life. And Luanne starts like tearing up.
Yeah.
You know, she goes, come on, Hank. And he says, Peggy, you coming to the wedding or not? The only reason I asked is I need to know how many burgers to defrost. I mean, he's still putting up that wall in front of her.
He is. He'll make her a burger, but that's it.
He says to Luanne, come on. And he takes her. Rhett's already driven off in the non-bouncing van. And he goes, come on. And they leave Peggy just standing there with her nightlight. And a bunch of moths start gathering around the nightlight on her head.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Moth to a flame.
It's the next morning. We're at Arlen Lake. We see all the picnic tables and everything. They're all set up for this wedding. Hank and Luanne come out. She's in her wedding dress, and he goes, where is everyone? I reserved 2 picnic tables. And where's Rhett? Luanne says, I canceled the wedding. He goes, but... She goes, Aunt Peggy was right. We were just getting married so we could fornicate without you and God getting mad at us. But you and Aunt Peggy are the ones who should be fornicating.
Whoa.
Hank says, what if Reverend Stroop heard you talking like that? She goes, well, Reverend Stroop thinks so too. And then you hear Reverend Stroop, who's already out in the water. She says, chop, chop, Hank. Let's go. I'm getting cold in here. Peggy comes up out of the water, just everything showing. Again, we get to see straight through to Peggy's underwear. And she goes, Hank, I'm a virgin. Like just in slow motion, water going everywhere. Hank says, Peggy, come on. This reborn virgin stuff is a bunch of nonsense. Sorry, Reverend, but a few churchy words and a dunk in the lake doesn't change. And then you see Hank get a look.
Yep.
He gets a look on his face. He can see through Peggy's robe. He sees her underwear.
Yeah, it's a similar situation. She happens to be stacked up top
Yeah.
too, old Peg.
And
yeah.
he goes, Peggy, I can see your whatnots. Your whatnots.
What? Yeah, you're what?
He walks out in the water. He picks her up like officer and a gentleman style, starts carrying her out of the water. And she goes, let's start over again, Hank. This time, no secrets. Hank looks at her and says, as soon as we get you into my truck and over there behind those trees, I want you out of this robe so you don't catch a cold. Yeah, all right, Hank.
That's how you know Hank is strong.
Hank is a man right there.
Because I don't think Peggy is, I wouldn't call Peggy fat.
No.
But I imagine
She's stout.
that when he goes to scoop up the old Montana farm girl, she's probably built like a tree trunk.
Well,
she's
her
probably
feet
really
alone-
strong.
Her feet alone probably weigh 6 pounds.
I imagine she's just a really, really hard woman.
So they kiss super hard. I just wrote down Hank horny with a bunch of question marks
Yeah,
behind
Hank's
it.
horny, all right.
And Luanne says, I think someone's going to, she's talking to Stroop. She goes, I think someone's going to lose their virginity. Not me. No. Aunt Peggy. She whispers it real loud. Aunt Peggy. And that's it. That's credits.
That's it.
And
That's
then
a
after the
wrap.
credits, the only thing we hear is the Vandergraafs.
Yeah.
And that's it. That is season 5, episode 15, or 5ABE 16, according to how you hold the map.
Yep. Wherever you want to hold it at.
And that is it.
Yep. Episode 198.
I want to thank you guys, number one, for being here. 198, by the way. We got 2 more until 200. Want to also remind you, please go check out the Patreon. It's Patreon, BWAAAKOTH. It's a little $3 thing there. If you can help us out, we'd really appreciate it. And then,
Eventually, we'll come up with some content for
Yeah.
you guys on there.
And then also, I want to remind everybody that on Spotify, you can now watch the video of this rather
video
than just the audio.
Instead of just the audio.
Everywhere else, it'll be audio, with the exception of YouTube. That'll be video as well. So you want to tell them where they can find us?
Yeah, you can find us at BWAAAKOTH.com, or you can go over to roguemedianetwork.com/BWAAAKOTH.
And that'll about do it. Join us again Friday. We'll have our Friday episode, and then also be sure to check out Swimmer's Ear. I think we're doing another infomercial this week. And we appreciate your patronage. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you as people. So we'll see you again Friday.
We Matanye.
We Matanye indeed. This has been a Rogue Media Network production.